Hey guys, it's 1:03, so let's get party started. Today, things are going to be a little different. Gogo's in Florida for her new house appointments. So that's why she can join us today because she's choosing her new pool, which is good. I don't blame her. Hope she has fun with that. So today we're going to have Lynn. She's our special guest. She's going to share everything on how she iconed and how her journey has been. But we also have a special host. There's going to be Cody, since Cody sponsored Lynn. So she's going to make the questions. And you know, guys, how it works. So just bring the question, do ask whatever you want to, and we are here to help each other. Okay. So Cody, Lynn, thank you very much for being here today. And Cody, you can take the stage.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Well, Lynn, I'm so excited to get to do this. I definitely have notes because I didn't want to miss any good questions ahead of time. And I did send them to her so that she could maybe think about all of the best answers to give us. So first, let's start with asking you, how long have you been in real estate?
So I actually got my license in August of 2015. And when I first got into real estate, I was recruited by the team leader that I was friends with, or we had an acquaintance actually. Friends introduced us. She had sold my house when I went through a divorce, and recruited me basically just to get involved with real estate. I was honestly just looking for a part-time job, an extra part-time job. At the time, I had 3 jobs. But my son was getting his driver's license, which meant a car and more expenses. So I kind of reached out to her to see if I could do admin work or any kind of paperwork I could do just for an extra income. So I got my license, I took the class, and I kind of just on a whim, because I didn't know anything about houses, got my license in August and started with her on her team, which I was the only agent. She had an admin person, but and then, so 2015, I actually had 1 closing. So, but that's, I mean, hey, you got to start somewhere.
Right. Absolutely. Now, so you started in 2015. How long, I feel like I know this answer, but how long have you been at EXP?
So when I moved over, so originally when I started, I was on the team. I was on the team the entire time until I came to EXP, which would have been last June of 2020.
Okay. So it's just about at a year.
Yeah.
Now I know when you came on board, like you had made the switch. What led you to that decision though? You know, we got introduced through a common business partner, you know, someone that we use for inspections introduced us. But I guess, why were you making that decision?
Well, you know, I think that everybody has to start somewhere, right? And starting on a team for me was a great learning tool. I mean, I'm grateful for everything that I learned being on the team. After a couple years, right, 2016, 2017, kind of trying to make my way and find what worked for me, I kind of realized that I was headbutting with the team leader that I had. I wanted to do things a little bit differently. She was very old school, set in her ways, wouldn't do, you know, professional photos, didn't want to like do any type of marketing or anything like that. By that point, you know, I had my own clients. I also had a lot of Zillow leads, which was basically the whole reason and what she was offering as an advantage of being on her team. But, you know, after a couple of years, I wanted to do things a little bit differently. And I started inquiring about having my name on a sign or a rider on the sign or anything like that. And no matter what I requested or asked about, it was always a negative kickback that, you know, it was going to be done her way. And you know, there was no really exceptions to anything like that. Also, every year when I looked at how hard I had worked, no matter if they were my clients or leads from her, I worked just as hard with every single client that I've ever received, right? No matter if it was a lead or not. And I really was struggling with the fact of how much I was giving back to her and what was I getting for that? I was getting leads, but what other training or growth was I getting from being on the team with all the money I was paying back to the team? So that honestly was it. I mean, like I had kind of just like every year I did renegotiate my contract, I believe in 2019, tried again in probably 2018. It was very consistent that when my contract expired, she would never address bringing it up or offering anything because I think she wanted me to stay where I was at. So I just kept increasing my goals for volume because in my mind, my goal was to make a certain amount of money. I'm a single mom. My son's at college. So the last 4 years, you know, it's been college expenses. It's huge. And it's been very important for me, for him to not come out of school with huge debt. So that's been my number one goal as a single mom, is to help him with school. So every year when I would see how much I actually made no matter what my volume was, I was not making the income I wanted to make. So every year I would set a new goal. And when I was at Keller Williams, the team lead at the Keller Williams office would ask me, what are your goals? And I think the last time she sat down with me and I said 12 million, and she said, what? And I said, honestly, her name was Lynne also. I said, Lynne, for me to make my income goals, for me personally, based on the split and the cap and the franchise fee and all the frickin' nonsense, that's what I have to do. Because I mean, I wanted to make $100,000. I mean, that was my goal. So that was basically, and every year when I tried to renegotiate things, and it just kind of kept getting hairier and hairier. And I felt like it was a scary thing though. I mean, anybody that starts out on a team, it's hard to know, and it's a scary jump that, you know, can you do it on your own? You know, I mean, are you going to be successful? And that was my biggest crippling fear, because I felt like I could buy my own leads, right? So that wouldn't change, but I was a little bit hiding behind her apron, right? You know, I mean, I always was affiliated with that team leader because I worked for her. That's how nobody knew me. Nobody knew my name. I mean, my direct clients did, but nobody knew necessarily how much business I was doing because it was always her name on signs and marketing. One of the other big things that really was super hurtful was the last year. So it would have been the beginning of 2020. So the beginning of the year before I did the jump the end of May, June. I had gotten I was doing my own mailers and marketing and direct, you know, postcards and things like that, trying to farm communities. And I did have to have like team information on it, which was fine. But after I did receive a few of my own listings, I found out when I walked into the office one day unannounced, because I didn't have regular office hours, she went and ordered just listed postcards to send out to the neighborhood, acting, and maybe this is just a common thing for a team leader, but I just felt it was really unfair that there was no credit and there was no conversation of some type of a joint thing that she just, you know, and she didn't want me to know about it. That was the thing. It was supposed to be a secret thing that she was going to do these mailers, and I wouldn't know about it on the listings that I actually had gotten on my own. So I didn't feel like it was a very good team effort. So it was just time for me to make the jump and do it on my own, you know, knowing that even if I didn't have as many transactions, I was making twice as much money.
Yeah, I remember last year, I don't know if you remember this conversation, but and we'll talk a little bit more, because when you started, you know, you had loss, and so you had challenges moving over, not only that from your team, but I can remember after you got going, you called and you said, I have never seen a check this big. And I was like, what are you talking about? And you're like, Cody, with the team split, with the marketing fees, with everything, you're like, I've never gotten this big of a check. And I said, have you not sold houses this big or what? And you're like, no, I've sold houses this big. I've just never got to keep this much money. And so I remember how cool that felt for you to be so ecstatic about that. Yeah. I think it's interesting that you talk about team. There's a lot of people on here, I think, that started on a team. I know Tay started on a team, and the cool part about her starting here at EXP on a team is that very different experience, right? And I know that she'll probably get to share that with us in some different Zooms and the EXP Why Not. So I would definitely tune into those. But how her transition, or folks transition here from a team to independent, is celebrated, not, you know, a hindrance to the person wanting to break out. And I can remember when you were coming on board, you had even said, hey, if it would have been greeted in a positive way, you would have even probably stayed within the broker to some degree if that team lead there hadn't have caused you know, so much kind of animosity between the two of you. So so fast forward, you come on, And right when, Lynne, you come on, you have the loss of your mom, right, within the first couple of months. So I remember getting messages from you saying, I'm so sorry, I will work hard, which we were like, what are you talking about? Just take care of your mom, go, have your grief. But you hit the ground running after that. And so do you know about how long did it take you to have, you set out your goal from the get-go to hit Icon. I can remember you talking about that in your very first transactions. Do you know right offhand about how long it took you to cap? Because it was you came on in about June. You really were able to start kind of working at EXP not until about August or September timeframe. It was about then, right? Yes. So how long did it take you to cap?
So I wrote this down because I'm not very good at all my numbers remembering it. It took me 9 transactions to cap. So that would have been the very beginning of November. And I did move over. I think I signed my documents to move over to EXP June 6th or 7th. And my mom, we lost my mom the 28th. And then I took 2 months off to handle her house and estate. So it was a huge struggle. But, it was my biggest thing. That was one of the big reasons why I came to EXP. So obviously when, our mutual friend introduced me to you, there were 2 reasons why I moved over to EXP. One, I'm being very transparent, and it was because of Impact Agents and the amazing mission that you had about giving back to the community. And I kind of felt like, look, if I'm going to leave a team and I'm going to jump out on my own, I want to look at all brokerages, right? I liked Keller Williams. I had a lot of friends there, but it did get to be very sticky at the end, based on leaving the team situation. But I kind of felt like this was a great stepping stone for me and something that I could share because I was passionate about it. It meant a lot to me, and it set me apart from other agents, right? So the other reason was the whole Icon, because I thought, like, why would I not, first of all, I'm going to make all of my commission minus my cap, right? Everybody has a cap, but why not have the opportunity, whether I hit it or not, at least I have the opportunity to get that money back. So, it was a goal, kind of feeling like I was derailed with, COVID and getting back on track, starting on my own, and then taking 2 months off to help with family stuff. It was hard, but I capped in those 9 transactions. So that was November. So even just having 100% of my income since then has been unreal. Literally crazy. So
especially we talked about in the winter months, right? We were talking about how keeping 100% of income during winter months was insane because even the smaller deals ended up being much bigger checks that you could rely on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did calculate. So I did have it was a little bit more stressful, I think, than it should have been. Obviously losing 2 months right off the bat this year is definitely not it's going to be a different situation. This was hard. I'm not going to lie. It was a hard goal, but I think I kind of was a little bit behind the 8 ball, with family issues. But it did take me 23 transactions to Icon, and that was a little bit of a learning curve. And I think that you had even mentioned it out right off the get-go. It took me longer or more transactions because some of them were inside EXP referrals or splits or things like that. So they're counted a little bit differently. So it definitely took longer than I was hoping. I also did have quite a few even list side transactions that had a little bit of a bumpy road on quite a few that we didn't close. So I really was hoping to have hit this goal a little bit sooner than I did, but that's okay.
So when did you hit Icon?
I believe it would have been June 14th. Well, I found out on June 14th, but it would have been the Friday before. I was tracking it pretty rigorously, as your husband Ty knows, because I was so freaking out about things. And I had been looking in the back office, I believe, at my cap history or something like that, because I knew it was basically, it's supposed to be 20 transactions or when you hit $5,000 cap fee back. So after you cap, and then there's that broker transaction fee, I guess. So that $5,000 is what was kind of my struggle, right? Because of the referrals that we had together, I didn't get a 250 or a 125 even, or it was always some weird number. I was like off by $18 or something. by looking at that cap sheet or spreadsheet, there was one transaction I did not realize from April that was missing. It was on the transaction spreadsheet. We're listing all my transactions, so that was right, but the other screen was missing a transaction. So in a sheer panic on Monday the 14th, I messaged the broker because I had just had a closing and expecting a $250 fee to be removed, which still I thought I was gonna need another transaction. And when I got my disbursement check or whatever, it said they only took $87. Oh my God. I have like almost hit the roof because I'm like, are you kidding? How can this be? I mean, I had a call with Christy. We've done all these things. We've talked to Workplace Chat. And when I reached out to them again, they're the ones, she found it instantly. She said, oh, you already capped. That's why it was so low. I said, what do you mean? And she said, there was one that wasn't on your sheet, but it's on our report. So, I mean, they were great. I mean, they fixed it and it was just kind of a nice gift.
Yeah, you're so good at keeping track of it. And I remember you asking, you're like, how did you know? And I'm like, I had zero idea. My checks just started showing up with less taken out of them. I like, quite frankly, didn't know. So I remember we were talking, I'm like, maybe call them. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. And I think it's so great that you kept such an eye on it. And here's the reality. You know, when you look back at this year, you really did this in 10 months, under 10 months. It was 9.5 months because you start over again, July 1st, right? So really you iconed in about 9.5 months, but you capped in around a month and a half or about 2 months. So huge. What do you think was the hardest part? If somebody was going to set a goal for Icon, I mean, what kind of advice could you give them? What do you think has been the hardest part of your journey?
I don't know about the hardest part, but I guess the advice part is just to, I think the hardest thing is when you get started, right? And everybody needs a paycheck. We all need paychecks. Getting to the point where you don't look at a client as a paycheck or even as a transaction, right? It's all about helping somebody and serving them to the best of your ability. So whether that means maybe referring them out or sharing a client that maybe you have to do double duty on because of distance or location or whatever the situation is. What is super special to me, there's been a lot of transactions that were super special, but the one that made me Icon was a referral. And the original part of the referral was basically friends of mine that said, hey, look, our friends, neighbors down the street, the husband lost his dad. And they have probate questions. We know, you just went through this with your mom. Would you just talk to him? And I met with him and his wife multiple times about their property and what they could do and what options they had. And it was because of that conversation, I wasn't selling them anything. I was just sharing my personal experience with what I had went through with my mom and trying to be a connector with the title company and get questions answered. It wasn't anything about real estate or my wages or even a transaction at that time. But 4 months or 3 months later, that person came back to me to do a transaction on the property that the dad left to him and his uncle. And it was basically a transaction type situation. And that was the last deal that made me hit Icon. And it's like super touching because it's just like, the key is we are here to help our clients, no matter what we're getting paid. I mean, they need your guidance, right? We're the experts in what we do. So I think just kind of stepping back and leading with that servant's heart and not looking at it like, well, am I going to make a paycheck? I'm not calling the client if they're not going to list or buy with me, which they weren't. They just needed help. I mean, so that just was a huge eye opener. And then, I mean, this year I really did grow. I mean, I did lease transactions. I did, rentals for the landlord side. I did everything. I did a commercial lease that I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I thought I'm just going to figure it out, So every single one of those helped me, right? They all counted. And sometimes I think that's the big picture. It doesn't matter what our paycheck is. I know it's still hours and time away from maybe a bigger transaction, but the thing is where is each person you talk to going to lead? The client that referred me to those people, I cleaned their home for, I think, 10 years. I was their housekeeper.
Wow.
And like they referred people to me. They've done transactions with me. They're the Valley Stream sellers that you just recently have a transaction with. I mean, you just don't know where each person is going to lead you. And all you can do is do your best. you know, and it'll come back to you tenfold if you have the right mindset.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many conversations we've had over the year with leading with a servant heart, and that comes so naturally to you. I mean, obviously that's what it is to be an impact agent. We actually have conversations the other direction where I say, Lynn, that's not your job. You can't, you know, I think one of the best attributes of you and your business is that you care so incredibly much. And that is why your business has grown tremendously. The folks that just chase a paycheck, to your point, it's transactional for them and their business will not grow the same way. This year, how has because I think I kind of lost track someplace in the mix, I apologize, but how did your volume this last year do compared to years previous?
So, you know, in 2020, I did have, I think, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 transactions that I closed at Keller Williams before I moved over. And I ended up with 24 total in 2020. So combined brokerages. Mm-hmm. And I think my volume was just over 6 or 6.2 million. 2018, 2019, they were about 5. Obviously, I didn't have very many transactions though on my own because they were team leads. So I would have like maybe 13 or 14 personal was kind of what my transactions have been the last few years. So jumping up to 24 was a good increase. And I think, gosh, as of right now, I think I'm already at probably 22 or so transactions for this year, and about with closed and pending, I think I'm at 5.5 million. So
that's awesome.
Absolutely blown away when I look at, because I don't honestly keep track of it on a regular basis like I probably should. So I was really surprised by it. I've just been taking each client and trying to do my best by them. And with the market that we're currently in, and I'm sure all of you can relate and agree with the fact that every client we are working 3 and 4 times as hard for. But you know, it definitely pays off. It's just a little bit harder. So
yeah, it's planting those seeds. Like you said, there's so many times I know that you're a person about the community. There's a lot of times that you're showing up. That doesn't equal a pay. You know, you're not going there looking for a paycheck. I know that about you, but you also understand that when you serve your community and you serve the you know, the folks within it, that it does lead to those referrals. All right, so I want to respect everybody's time, but I asked you already, coming at it with a servant heart, for anybody that decides, you know, hey, I'm going to go after Icon this year. I mean, what did Icon mean to you? I know it was a goal, but what did it truly mean to you? Because I can remember you talking about when I hit Icon, these are some things. I know we had kind of had some conversation. So when it happened now, which I don't think you believed for the first few days, but when it happened,
I still believe it, honestly.
What did hitting Icon mean to you?
Well, it was a huge goal. You know, I mean, it really was. And honestly, like, I did a little video. I mean, any kind of videos out of my comfort zone. I don't like to do this kind of stuff, but you know, it was just kind of came full circle. And this is why I chose EXP. It was one of those 2 reasons why I chose to come over to EXP. A lot of things kind of played back in my mind. A lot of the unfortunate discouragement that I did get from my past brokerage about how it wasn't going to be a good fit. None of what I was told was going to happen. But the reality is it did. I mean, just keeping more of the money that I earned, not having the team split. And I'm not saying that because I'm against teams. I'm not. I mean, listen, I've learned so much from being on a team. But, you know, as individuals, business owners, we're all business owners. We're all going to find something that we want to do differently with our business. So it's not ego driven. It's not just because I wanted my name on the sign. It was because I felt like I earned that, right? I'm doing all of the hard work. I want people to know and recognize me. But by being able to keep more of my paychecks and now obviously reaching Icon and getting that money back, it's put me in the position to be able to give back through impact agents. You know, for every closing, we give back to a local charity and organization that our client chooses. I mean, and that part of it is huge. And I don't want to start crying, but when I moved over, if you remember, my mom was still here. And she encouraged me to make this move. And she said, don't you worry, everything's going to be fine. Because I was so afraid, like, what if I don't have enough clients? What if I don't have enough transactions to do this? You know, you don't want to fail. And I ordered signs, and never like in a million years would I have thought my very first listing with my name on the sign was their house. And it was also the first closing that I did where I gave back a portion of the commission to hospice that helped her. So that was, I mean, kind of all comes full circle, but I mean, for me,
now that you got everybody with chills ready to cry.
I mean, for me, though, it was just like, it really just made me realize, like, this is my reason. This is why I moved over. And it's a great thing for me to share with my clients. I'm not just any agent, right? I mean, like any of us at EXP, we all have the opportunity to keep more of our income that we work so hard for, because we have less fees, whether you're impact agent or not, right? We all have less fees. We have the flexibility to do things differently. And I just think it's a better option. I mean, not everybody's got to do their own thing, but you know, I mean, I think it's a great thing for us to tell our clients, right? And no matter what you do with that extra money that you get to keep, it's your choice.
Right. Yeah, you couldn't be more spot on. One, this last year I've seen you grow tremendously. I'm so proud to get to be a business partner with you. One, I have learned tremendously. The areas that you have thrived coming into this company are the areas that I lack. Like you have helped me grow. And so I'm so appreciative of your partnership as well. But I've seen you get more confident with yourself. I've seen you get more confident with your business and more assertive with your business, which is where we all need to be. Like you said, we own these businesses. But the thing that I love that you keep saying that I think a lot of people outside of EXP have a hard time talking about is sometimes people don't want to talk about, you know, the money and keeping more of their money. And they think that sounds greedy, but the minute you let go of this idea that we have to loathe, you know, money, or that if we're a terrible person, if we want to grow wealth or be wealthy, hey, growing your assets, to Lynn's point, keeping more of her money only made her exactly what she was, but with more money, an amazing person with a big heart. All it did was give her more options, right? So I have just loved this last year. I look for many, many, many more years to come. It doesn't shock me whatsoever that you hit icon as much as you are worried about it. I don't know how many times I told you, I said, it's like doggy paddling. It gives you something to do, but it ain't gonna get you nowhere, right? I said, you're gonna hit icon. I have no doubt in my mind. And now here we are, you are icon. You can start sharing that in your own humble little way with everyone. I'm so stinking proud of you. And I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
So any last questions? I think we're about at our time. Does anybody have any immediate questions they want to ask Lynn? I think we covered all the things.
The only one thing I do want to share, last thing is, so no matter where any of us start and whatever company that we're at, right? It's all about, like I said, that original goal that I had was I needed to make more money. I'm working my tail off, right? At the brokerage and the team I was on before, I needed to make more money. In getting to the point where you can step away from constantly needing to make more money, I just feel like this is just kind of that missing piece of the puzzle, because now I'm working just as hard, but I have the benefit of keeping that extra money, right? If you're not doing the team splits and the franchise fees and all that stuff, it sets you into a different mindset where you're not looking at each client as a pay.
Right. Oh, I think I got Lynn froze up. Anybody else?
Yeah, it's just frozen.
Oh no. Right, we lost our
Give
star. I
her
don't know
a
if you can hear me.
second. Maybe if you can stop her video, let's see if it will come back. Oh, I hope she doesn't fall from the call.
Oh my gosh. Well, at least we got to hear all of her tidbits first and
I
all of her
know.
goosebumps.
Lynn, if
I
you're
know.
hearing us, maybe you want to try get out of the call and come back in. Maybe this will unfroze you. Yeah, I think she just did that.
Oh, there she goes. You were frozen there for a minute. I don't know. I didn't. Marianne, did you see any questions in the chat for her? I think everyone.
No, everyone was just very, how can I say that? It was very nice for you to share your story of how you started, and then everybody was like full goosebumps, like Alexis
Right.
didn't hear. So thank you very much for sharing this with us. I know it means a lot to you, and we really appreciate and respect. And Tay just mentioned that it's so crazy how similar your guys' stories are. So maybe
really?
you have a new partner, to chat, maybe share a little bit. She said she watched the replay. Tay, I don't know if you can hear us. And
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here and I'm listening and trying to take notes. And then I'm just getting back from vacation and my phone is off the hook. And I have 2 deals that are literally about to make me rip my hair out. So I'm like, I gotta go back and watch the replay. But I heard that you were on a team, and just hearing your experience and the fact that you icon, that's something I definitely want to do. And that's part of the reasons why I left the team, to be able to icon, but I never knew our stories were so similar. So we'll definitely have to connect. And I got to watch them.
Yeah.
So thank
you. Coming back from that Grand Canyon, you're going to need a catch-up day, Tay.
Oh my God. I'm technically not supposed to be back to work till July 1st.
Oh my gosh. But you picked up that phone, didn't you? You had to pick up that phone.
Well, I was supposed to have a closing today, and it's just some crazy stuff going on. So I'm like, oh my God. So I shouldn't have opened this can of worms. I should have waited till the 1st.
Well, welcome back. Lynne, thank you so much for jumping on here and sharing all of your wisdom and your tidbits and your takeaways. How can everyone get a hold of you if they think of questions that they would love to ask you afterwards?
Oh, sorry, we just have a quick question that Alexis just put it on the chat. So you mentioned you switched from team to independent. Where did you generate the majority of your leads when you made the change?
So honestly, the majority of my business from last year, right, the last 12 months, probably 85% of it's been past clients and referrals. The majority of those past clients, though, originally were Zillow leads. The team I was on, that was their prime, that was really all they offered was Zillow leads, which, hey, that's fine. But I feel that I'm very good at maintaining relationships with those clients. So now I do some leads online, and also I just started, so I have no success with it yet, but I just started doing Facebook ads. I have gotten a couple listings through using the KV Core link, so I'm super excited about that. And, I love that aspect of Cody and Gogo and what they can offer relative to social media, because that's something that I always wanted to grow. And the team I was on before, she just didn't do that. It was really basically Zillow leads. So that's kind of my prime focus.
You don't give yourself as much credit too. You're in the community a lot, like a lot. You go to events, you're seen out at restaurants, so I think your community knows you're a realtor, so
well,
I do.
And I think a lot of that is just this last year since I switched over, because I don't feel, I wasn't really marketing myself. I wasn't getting out there as much when I was on the team, because I kind of felt like I couldn't, I don't know. It just was a different situation. I can now advertise and do it how I want, in my way, right? We all have our own way we want to brand ourselves and the tribe that we want to surround ourselves with. And I think that makes a huge difference when you're not under somebody's thumb and not allowed to do certain things,
Yes. Do you remember she used to message me and be like, is this okay if I put this on Facebook is this okay if how do I put my sign? And I was like, did your last team leader beat the crap out of you or what? Because she was so scared to market herself. I was like, girl, this is Lynne Gebski real estate, and you're going to need to run with it. Like, no one else is going to tell you. And I think that was such a liberating time, I think, for you, because there were and thank goodness, rarely do you ever ask anything like that anymore. But for a long time, you'd be like, is this okay? And I was like, absolutely. Get out there and share your name in any way, shape, or form. Use our listings and put it through KV Core.
It's a different mindset, but it's just such a different feeling. And I'm so grateful to be in that position and know that it's my choice, and I can work with the clients that I want to work with and partner with the clients that, choose to partner with me. And I don't have to ask for permission. It's such a good feeling,
Yeah. Well, we are so lucky to have you. Thanks, guys, so much for staying on here extra. You can probably reach out to Lynne on Facebook. It's probably the easiest way to get
yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys.
So the team page.
Oh yeah, and then on Team Gogo. Awesome. Well, thank you, Icon, for sharing your wisdom. We're so lucky to have you here, and to many more.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Cody, for hosting. Thank everyone for being here.
Yeah.
Have a great day, guys. Bye.
Bye.